Let's unpack this. Today we're diving into David Epstein's range, specifically looking at the introduction in Chapter 1, The Cult of the Head Start.
Right. And our mission today is to explore why that intense pressure you feel to pick a lane early, whether it's your career or your hobbies, why that might actually be steering you in the entirely wrong direction.
Because we are just so conditioned to revere the early start. You see it everywhere, this assumption that to achieve any level of greatness, you have to hyper-specialize right out of the gate.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all know the Tiger Woods origin story.
Like dragging a putter around at 7 months old.
Exactly. And driving golf balls on national television by age 2. It is the ultimate specialist blueprint.
But the Roger Federer path completely flips this on its head.
It really does.
Because as a kid, Federer wasn't just drilling tennis all day. He dabbled in squash, skiing, wrestling, skateboarding.
Basically anything that involved a ball.
Right. And the funniest part is his mother was actually a tennis coach, yet she refused to coach him.
Because he wouldn't return the ball normally.
Yeah, he was playing around, figuring out mechanics across multiple sports organically.
I love that as a teenager, his biggest ambition wasn't even world domination.
Yo, not at all.
When a local paper asked him what he'd buy with his first hypothetical tennis paycheck, he said he wanted more CDs in his native language.
Mere CDs.
Right, but the paper completely misunderstood the phonetics and printed that he wanted a Mercedes.
He literally just wanted more music.
So how does a kid who just wants to buy more CDs end up challenging one of the most famous rules in psychology?
Well, that's where Epstein's work gets crucial. We've heavily bought into the 10,000-hour rule.
The concept popularized by Malcolm Gladwell.
Right, the idea that deliberate, highly technical practice, starting as early as possible, is the ultimate key to expertise.
I hear that, but it feels counterintuitive to push back against it. We've been told for years that deliberate practice is everything. Isn't focused repetition the definition of mastery?
In a vacuum, maybe. Deliberate practice is about identifying a specific flaw and drilling it repetitively.
With immediate, measurable feedback.
Exactly. But it assumes you already know exactly what you need to be good at.
And the data in the text debunks the idea that this early, rigid repetition is a universal requirement for success.
For most people, the Tiger Path is actually a recipe for burnout or failure.
Yes. Science shows that eventual elite performers typically spend significantly less time early on in highly technical practice.
Instead, they go through what researchers call a sampling period.
Precisely. During a sampling period, individuals try various lightly structured activities.
It's not just unfocused play, though.
No, they're gaining broad, diverse mental and physical frameworks. By trying different domains, they learn how to learn.
They figure out their intrinsic abilities.
Which means when they do finally specialize later on, their foundation is massive and their motivation is internal.
The book contrasts this late specialization with the Polgar sisters. Weren't they essentially treated as a childhood experiment in extreme specialization by their father?
They were. He relentlessly trained them in chess from infancy just to prove a point about creating geniuses.
They were the ultimate specialists, trained exclusively in pattern recognition for one specific board game.
So we have the specialists like Tiger and the Polgars versus generalists like Federer who start broad, embrace diverse experiences, and specialize later.
Why does building that broad base first translate into a massive advantage for you, the listener, trying to navigate a modern career?
Because society constantly pushes you to find your lane immediately, whether you're mapping out a college major or a linear corporate ladder.
But the sources show that the most effective learning actually looks incredibly inefficient and slow.
Generalists use their diverse sampling period to avoid rigid thinking. Because they've seen multiple frameworks, they can draw analogies across domains,
making them highly adaptable when faced with new, unpredictable problems.
The crucial distinction Epstein makes is the environment. The Tiger Woods and Polgar models do work, but only in what psychologists call kind learning environments.
Kind environments are domains with clear, unchanging rules, visible patterns, and instant feedback.
Golf and chess are perfect examples. The rules never change, and every time you take an action, you immediately see the result.
In those specific worlds, early specialization is incredibly effective.
But the reality is that your career, your relationships, and modern problem-solving rarely offer instant feedback or perfectly ordered rules.
The pressure to specialize early assumes your entire life will operate like a chessboard.
Which is the core takeaway. If you've only ever trained for one specific pattern, an unpredictable environment will completely derail you.
But what if the world isn't a golf course? What if it's a wicked place?